Welcome to the WalterFootball.com podcast. This is episode 314. We're doing our Week 20 NFL picks against the spread. Joined once again by Jacob Camenker from the Sporting News. Jacob, how are you? And how's your week?
I'm doing pretty good. Last week, not too great for me. Worst week in a while. I went 1-3. Lost both the Saturday games, and then made the bounce back with the Browns. I nailed them at +10. I got that just before the line dropped, so I felt good about that. But then the Bucs beat the Saints. I had the Saints -3 in that one, so it was kind of I was okay with that one because I'm rooting for the Bucs because I have a 56-1 ticket on them to win the Super Bowl. So I wasn't too bad about that. I was kind of due for a down week. So one Saturday went the way it went. I was like, that's all right. I'll bounce back this upcoming week. And all the teams I was kind of rooting for pulled through. So I'm looking forward to this weekend. I think the championship games are going to be pretty exciting.
Yeah, I think so too. They should be close if the spread's any indication on that. And I went 3-1 last weekend. I got tripped up on the Saints as well. I had them, for -3 too. And I came away surprised by that game by how poorly Drew Brees played, and also Michael Thomas, who didn't catch a single pass. And that was the most shocking thing of the weekend to me. And then it came out yesterday. I think it was maybe this morning, that Michael Thomas needed surgery, multiple surgeries on his ankles, and that would explain why he didn't catch a single pass. Him not catching a ball, a single ball, is shocking. When has that ever happened? He's one of the best receivers in the NFL. So it kind of makes sense now that we get that news.
Yeah, it made a ton of sense. The Saints offense just looked out of sync. And, part of it is, I think we've seen this throughout the years, Drew Brees' arm strength has just been regressing. And it got to a point where without Michael Thomas fully healthy, he couldn't really make any plays. And credit to Michael Thomas for grinding through that game and doing everything he could to try to deliver a championship to New Orleans, or what looks like it was Brees' last year. So I hate to see Brees go out like that, but he still had a good year, all things considered. It just, as the season went along, things he just wore down a little bit, and I think we kind of saw the effects of that, and the Bucs being a little bit fresher, just because they have a lot more younger talent, especially on the defensive side of the ball. So I felt bad for the Saints in that loss, but at least they fought pretty hard, and they were close to the Bucs until the Bucs pulled away at the end.
Yeah, it was tied at 20, so it could have gone either way, really. And it is sad that Brees' final pass was an interception. Such a great career that he had, but all good things must come to an end, apparently. And it's really unfortunate how his season or his career ended, not just on that single pass, but this year he was injured, so he probably wasn't 100% for this game. Last year, he had that broken thumb and he fumbled because of it. His thumb wasn't 100% healed. The year before, they had that pass interference that should have been called and wasn't. So they should have won that game. And the year before that was the Minnesota Miracle. So it could have gone so much better for the Saints. They could have won 2 Super Bowls, maybe even more during the stretch, and they didn't win any. But still, tons of success. They won at least 1 Super Bowl, so they can at least hang their hat on that. So, great career. Obviously, a first Hall of Famer. Brees was amazing. But yeah, Tom Brady's moving on. I thought Tom Brady didn't play all that well. He had some interceptions that were dropped. He played better than the Brees, but he got lucky that the Saints didn't pick off some of his passes.
Yeah, I didn't think it was his best game by any stretch of the imagination. I thought he started pretty slowly, which we've seen him do that quite a few times. I can't blame him at this point. He's 43 and still playing quarterback. So, you got to expect that to do at least a little bit. But at the same time, it was he was not throwing the ball particularly well early. He had some dropped interceptions, like you said, but he ultimately came through and found a way to beat the Saints defense. And it was mainly relying on Leonard Fournette as a receiver out of the backfield. The Saints I don't think were planning on really needing to cover him that much as a receiver. They didn't expect Brady to throw to him as much as he did. And Brady just saw that opening. And that's when he realized this is the way to beat them. And that's what Tom Brady's good at, is even if you take away his top weapons, he will find a way to beat you. And we saw that on display against the Saints, and he's going to need to find a way to beat the Packers the coming week too, because I don't think the Packers can quite match up with all of his weapons, but it's going to be a tough game for Tampa Bay playing outside in Lambeau Field, especially with a young team that's used to playing in warmer weather.
Yeah, so yeah, we'll talk about the game in a bit. So Fournette was great as a runner. I think maybe the best runner on Sunday was Chad Henne when he had that 13-yard scramble. No one expected that, and then the fourth down pass to complete it to Tyreek Hill to win the game. It felt like the Chiefs were like hanging on for dear life. Like they were like just felt it slipping away like slowly. And I didn't even know if they were going to win. Like it seemed like they would lose it, but then the defense had a great stop on the Browns on the Browns' final offensive drive. I was kind of surprised because the Browns were moving the ball very well before that, and then they just and I was kind of surprised that they punted, and I figured that they thought that they were going to get the ball back because Henne wasn't going to get a first down, but. I think that was a bad decision. Kevin Stefanski made a couple of questionable decisions in that game. Like great coaching overall this year, but he made some mistakes in that game. And yeah, I guess we'll have to see if Patrick Mahomes is going to play. Right now, we have no idea. So obviously huge. And I know this well, like being in the New England area during Tom Brady's first Super Bowl run. Drew Bledsoe he had to play a game in the playoffs. So it was kind of reminded me of that where, obviously Chad Henne's not anywhere near as good as Bledsoe was back then, but still Chad Henne had to step in and, he came up big when he needed to.
Yeah, Henne deserves credit for what he was able to do. And regarding the decision to punt, I think at that time I was very torn on it because you could have gone for it on fourth down, but I believe it was like a 4th and 10. So it's a pretty low percentage of converting there. And where you had the backup quarterback in the game was kind of like, all right, we should be able to get a stop here. And, they had an opportunity to do that, but then they weren't able to tackle him on that third down scramble. And then that set up the 4th and inch play. If they had gotten the stop there, granted, they wouldn't have time to play, but they would have had, maybe I think seconds to make a play. So I think that coaching move by Stefanski, I didn't hate, but I can understand why people would say, like, just take a chance, just go for it. Like, if you fail there, the worst that happens if you get a stop is they get a field goal and you're down 8. So I could see the gripe that, yeah, if Chad Henne has to play against the Bills, that is going to be an all-time storybook moment for him, because if he can author a victory there and hold the fort until Patrick Mahomes can come back for the Super Bowl, that would be incredible. Frankly, Henne hadn't played, I don't think, in a regular season game since 2014. He's just been kind of hanging around as like he's a veteran backup. Like, he's pretty good. We can get by with him for a game. Of course, you never want to have to get by with someone for a game in the playoffs, but if he has to play, that's going to be an all-time potential moment for him. So be watching that very, very closely. It's a massive bummer that Mahomes had a concussion on that play. It was a freak play. Like, I've seen some people say, like, oh, that was a dirty play. I didn't think so at all. Mac Wilson was just going for the tackle. So I feel bad that Mahomes got concussed, but there was no helmet to helmet on there. He was just trying to make a tackle there, and Wilson succeeded, but Mahomes came up worse for the wear, and you hate to see that, but that's what ended up happening.
Yeah, it was when he first couldn't get up, I thought his knee was done. I was like, oh my God, like he may not be ready for the start of the 2021 season. Like, this is a complete disaster. But now he might be able to play. We have no idea. And it's kind of unlucky that the Chiefs didn't play on Saturday, because he'd have an extra day to get cleared for the concussion. So hopefully he can get there. So JL Reed is asking who's behind Henne on the depth chart. I just looked. And they have Matt Moore on the practice squad. So kind of like pretty much the same as Chad Henne. Although, like, given that Chad Henne came through, like, maybe the Dolphins were right for passing on Matt Ryan for Chad Henne all these years. Okay, maybe not. All right. The other two games, I was mostly tilted. So I don't really have an strong opinion on either games because I was doing really well. I had Alan Lazard in DraftKings, and like I got all the guys right from the first game. And I had Josh Allen, I had John Brown, I had Stephon Diggs, I had Devin Singletary left, and I actually finished in 19th in DraftKings in that tournament. And if Josh Allen had a good game, I would have won. And I was so angry about that. So like Josh Allen played, I feel like his worst game in a while. But the Bills still won. Lamar Jackson had that horrible interception, then he got hurt. And then in the other game, Aaron Donald wasn't 100%, so we didn't really get to see the Rams at full strength. And had we had known how Donald wasn't going to be 100%, I think the Packers would have been a big pick for us. So, any impressions on the other two games?
Yeah, I agree with you. If I had known Aaron Donald wasn't going to be 100%, I probably would have sided with the Packers, just for the sole reason that one of the big things that we had thought going into that game was, how is Green Bay's offensive line going to hold up against that pass rush without David Bakhtiari at their disposal? And, they didn't have to face the full Aaron Donald effect. They still had Leonard Floyd coming after them and some other good rotational players, Michael Brockers. But without Donald at 100% and with him off the field or playing in a limited role, it was kind of like, all right, this isn't as big of a deal, especially since Aaron Rodgers is still mobile. I think what you saw is Aaron Rodgers can beat any team. Like, he picked apart that Rams secondary, which I did not expect. I thought it was going to be a lower scoring game, even with Aaron Donald at less than 100%. If you had told me the Packers are going to score 30 points in this game, I would have said, no, you're crazy. That's not happening. And they pulled it off. And as for the Bills-Ravens, you were dead right on that being a terrible matchup for the Ravens. I thought that they were going to find a way to run on Buffalo, but they didn't. They made Lamar Jackson have to beat them through the air, and it just didn't work. And that pick six by Taron Johnson really was the death knell for the Ravens. And then, of course, Jackson got hurt, and that was super unfortunate because he would have at least had a chance to author a comeback there. Tyler Huntley had Marquise Brown open for a touchdown and overthrew him, which I will give him credit. There was a ton of wind in that game, and he was a practice rookie like a month ago, so don't expect him to make that play. But you always feel like when a team loses and their quarterback gets hurt, you're like, oh, what if they had been able to play the whole game? Like, I don't think they win either way, but it would have been nicer to see. And Josh Allen will have to step up this week against Kansas City. I think he'll have a better chance to do that. But part of the problem is they're just kind of one-dimensional right now. They have no running back. So unless they find a way to run the ball consistently without Josh Allen, they'll just be teeing off against him.
Yeah, so let's get to the games. So before we do, please hit subscribe or the like button if you're watching on YouTube, or notification bell, or send this to someone who likes football and may not know about the channel or the website. That would really help us out a lot. It's a great way to support the show. So we have two games, obviously. The first game is 3:00. It is the Buccaneers at the Packers. This line opened up Packers -4. It's down to 3. So it's 3.5 on Monday, and now it's 3. So definitely looking like sharp action is on Tampa Bay. So I'm curious to hear who you like in this game. We haven't talked at all about these games yet. So I'm very curious to hear what you have to say about both these games.
Yeah, so I can understand why the Sharps were on this at -4 or +4 and +3.5 for the Bucs. I'm actually on the Packers at -3. The reasoning for this is the Packers are on fire right now. Like, you cannot stop Aaron Rodgers. He is playing out of his mind and has played well in all but one game this year. And that one game this year is what's going to play a big impact in this game. He had his worst game of the year by far against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in Tampa Bay. And he's definitely going to have revenge on his mind because he's going to be thinking, oh, I can win win a trip to the Super Bowl at home in front of my fans and get revenge on this team that made me look absolutely terrible earlier in the season. I think he had 3 interceptions in that game or something along those lines. Maybe 2, and one was a pick 6, but it was a terrible performance for Rodgers, his only bad game of the year. So he's going to be extra motivated for this one. And I know the Bucs pass rush is going to try to bother him, and they might be able to do it, especially with David Bakhtiari out. But I also have some concerns about the Bucs playing in cold weather for the first time. Like, this is a pretty young Tampa Bay team. Like, they're just not very used to playing like playoff football in cold weather. It's going to be really cold at Lambeau Field. I think there might be a chance of snow. So I would think that the Packers would have a decided advantage in that. I don't think it impacts Tom Brady as much as it does, the other skill position weapons there. Chris Godwin on offense has had trouble with drops lately, which has been stunning because he never has had drop problems before. Antonio Brown's not 100%. So how will he do in cold weather? You don't know. And then defensively, their secondary is young and they're going to have to deal with colder conditions, and, judging ball flight in cold weather is a little bit more difficult. Getting your hands on players and making tackles is more difficult in cold weather. So I think that's going to have an impact on this game. I think the Buccaneers are going to keep it close. Like I said, I think Brady will have a good game. But I think that Aaron Rodgers is ultimately going to outduel him. So if we're at -3 at this point, I think that I would take the Packers because I do think that they're going to pull out this one in a win. So I'll take them in a field goal game, which is what this might shape up to be. I could see the case for taking the Buccaneers. Part of this is I am super hedging myself here too because I have a 56-1 ticket on the Bucs to win the Super Bowl. So if they were to lose this game and I pick the Bucs, I would feel very upset about that. So I'm going to be on the Packers here. I just think they're the better team. I think they're in the better scenario right now. But this is going to be an all-time game. Like Brady versus Rodgers in the NFC Championship game is something that if you said a year ago, everyone would be like, what are you talking about? That would never happen. Why would Brady be in the NFC? But we're finally getting this amazing matchup. So I'm looking forward to it either way. I'm going to be on the Packers. But let's see if you can convince me of a reason I should be on the Bucs here.
Well, I wanted to ask you if this line was still 4, where would you go with this?
Oh boy, see that's tough. I think if this line was 4, I would probably be on the Bucs.
Okay.
But I'm not even entirely sure that the 4 is like a complete toss up for me. When it's down at 3, I think I'm more on the Packers. 4, I'm more on the Bucs.
Okay, that makes sense. Obviously, I would say maybe not obviously, but I think the most likely result of this game is Green Bay winning by 3. So I think that makes a lot of sense to like Tampa at +4. So I'm going to be on the Buccaneers here. So I like the first thing I did when handicapping this game was look at the weather report. Now things could change, and if I saw it was going to be like 15 degrees. And like medium winds or heavy winds or maybe snow, I was going to be like, okay, we're going to definitely take Green Bay. But the weather report right now, and this could change, but it says cloudy, 30 degrees, light wind. It's like not bad. I think Tampa can win in those conditions. If it gets worse, maybe I'll change my mind. But I don't think the weather is going to play a factor in this, especially if there's no wind. Like the wind chill's not going to be that bad. Once they get warmed up, from just warming up and stretching, I think they'll be perfectly fine. So I think that's going to be fine for Tampa Bay. I like the Buccaneers here because, I feel like they're going to win in the trenches. Like it seems like they should be able to do that, especially on the defensive side of the ball. Like Vita Vea is probably going to come back. That all it reports indicate that's going to be the case, and he's such a good player. So I think he's going to make such a big difference for the Buccaneers. The Packers are down 2 offensive linemen with Bakhtiari and Lane Taylor still out. So Tampa being able to dominate in the trenches on the defensive side of the ball, because it's not. I don't think it's possible to stop Aaron Rodgers, but I think they could slow him down a little bit. Which the Rams couldn't do because Aaron Donald started. I feel like it's going to be what we thought the Rams were going to do to the Packers. I think the Buccaneers are going to be able to do that defensively, and offensively they should be able to run the ball. Like Leonard Fournette looked great last week, and Green Bay's run defense is worse than New Orleans's. So I feel like the Buccaneers should be able to control the ball. Antonio Brown sounds like he's going to play. Mike Evans is going to get shut down by Jair Alexander. But Brady has so many other weapons, and with Fournette running well, and he's going to be in like short yardage situations, feel like he should be able to move the ball. So I think this game straight up is a toss-up. I think either team could win. I give it like 50-50 for either team to win. So to get +3, it makes a lot of sense to take the Buccaneers. And with the Sharps on Tampa, like granted, they took them at +3.5 and +4. But still, a +3, I think Tampa is a good side to take +3.
Yeah, I definitely can see your argument. Like, I have no qualms with that pick at all because I think, like you said, Leonard Fournette could run crazy on them. They could play ball control. I've seen what Mike B saw about the weather, that it's going to be 20s with potential snow. It's still too early for us to know exactly what will happen because different weather models are going to say different things. But if it's closer to the 30s, like you said, and it's going to be more mild, then I might be on Tampa Bay more, depending on what kind of number I'm getting here. But I still think I'm going to stick with Rodgers at home. Again, I have a lot of reasons to hedge this game. So it just feels right for me to do that just in case the Bucs, if the Bucs come out and win, I'm not going to be mad if I bet on Green Bay. Whereas if I bet on the Bucs and then Green Bay wins, I'm going to be really mad at myself and not have a 56-1 ticket available for the Super Bowl. So part of this is me hedging, and the other part of me is this is a true toss-up game. I could see either side winning, but I'd rather stick with Aaron Rodgers at home, especially since Tampa Bay has a young team that, if it does get cold, like, I don't know, they could like lose this one quickly, or Tom Brady, it gets close to his bedtime or whatever. I don't know when he goes to bed on a Sunday, probably not before 6 p.m. So he's probably fine. But that was my theory on why he didn't do well in prime time this year, is because it was bedtime. So we'll see if it gets too cold for him and he needs a nap or something. But with all due respect to Tom Brady, I'm going to be on the Packers for now.
Well, you never know with Giselle's bedtime rules. I don't know. I wouldn't rule anything out. Tank, I don't know how to pronounce the rest of that, but he's asking, he says Lane Taylor's been out for all year and they've been the second best offensive line all year. Now, you're right about that. They've been great blocking, but when they've missed another offensive lineman, that's when they struggled this year. Like earlier in the year when they missed Corey Linsley, and then when they missed David Bakhtiari in the past couple of games, they haven't been as good offensively. Now, the Rams, I think that's an exception because Aaron Donald was not quite himself. And I think if he was, you would have seen a different result possibly. But when they've had two offensive linemen out, they're only 4-4 against the spread this year. And otherwise, they've been excellent. So it's definitely a different Green Bay team when they've been missing two offensive linemen. And that's something we focused on in the Super Contest, is like identifying multiple injuries at the same position. And Green Bay has that right now. Like they're down two offensive linemen against one of the best defensive lines in the NFL. And that's why I'm taking Tampa. Now, in regards to the weather, I guess, like they're different meteorologists are going to say different things. Like no one knows what the weather is going to be. So, definitely going to make sure what the weather is like an hour before kickoff. Like that's when we'll know. Otherwise, like I feel like meteorologists are probably less successful than most people, or maybe everyone in the Super Contest. Like it's just so difficult to predict the weather.
Yeah, they're kind of like fantasy football analysts. Like, you have a pretty good idea of what should happen, and then it's like, oh, well, this massive wind came out of nowhere and blew everything off like 100 miles, so you're not going to get rain. So yeah, meteorology stuff, like not my strong suit. So I just always check like an hour before game time, like you said. And then if it's looking terrible or if it's snowing out there, then you can adjust accordingly.
Yeah, that's true. I remember one time, it was before like an Eagles-Giants game or something. This was like 11 years ago. It was 11 o'clock. The game was in Philly, and I was walking my dog a couple hours before the game, and the wind was so strong it like almost knocked me over. So like I got back inside and I bet the under as soon as I could. So yeah, definitely going to check the weather out right before kickoff. Andrew's asking, in this game, who is better coaching? I think we can both agree that Andy Reid is better than Sean McDermott in the later game. But what about this game?
Yeah, this game, it's kind of tough. Like, I would normally say Bruce Arians, but I think that team's still coming together, whereas the Packers have already kind of come together and have like some synergy between passer and play caller on offense. I think LaFleur and Rodgers are working well together right now. I think Arians and Brady are still ironing out some of the final wrinkles there. So I might say for this one, LaFleur might be the better coach right now. But at the same time, the Bucs have the better defensive coaching with Todd Bowles and that defense. So I think it's a true toss-up. I think if you look at the staff as a whole, I would go with the Bucs. If you're just talking about the head coach, I think I would go with the Packers just because LaFleur and Rodgers are really, really clicking.
I agree. I was kind of skeptical on LaFleur before the season because I like from all reports, like he was kind of behind the Jordan Love draft pick. So I was like, why is he making that decision? And it was still a horrible decision, but I think overall his coaching ability is pretty good. Like so far through 2 seasons, he's been great for the Packers. So another question here. Here it is. Can you guys see Green Bay winning outright, but Tampa covering? And I was going to bring this up because you want to hedge. So I would go Green Bay money line if you're going to hedge for sure. Because I feel like if the Packers win by 1, then you lose both sides.
Yeah, I will probably do that. I hadn't considered that because usually anytime I'm hedging, I'm usually like, oh, I'm betting the underdog, but Tampa Bay is the underdog this time. So I probably will bet the Green Bay money line even at a discount there because it's possible this could be like a game where Rodgers goes down the field for a game tying touchdown and LaFleur's like, screw it, let's go for two. Devontae Adams catches it, Green Bay wins by one. So I could see that sort of thing happening for sure, especially in a game of this magnitude. I think if LaFleur has the option of going for two to kind of beat the Bucs or negate the potential of a Tom Brady like game-winning overtime drive, I think they would do it.
Yeah, and even with this line being 3, I mean, I think probably looking at the total, which is 51, the most likely result of this game is Packers 27, Buccaneers 24. So if you get Buccaneers +3, or if you bet Green Bay -3, you're getting a push, so you don't even win anything back. So, I think the money line definitely makes a lot of sense, and it's not going to be that expensive at -3.
Yeah, for sure. It'll be reasonably priced, and then that way I don't have to worry about points too. So if you're someone out there who has a Tampa Bay Buccaneers Super Bowl ticket, I would recommend doing this strategy.
Like me, yeah. So I think I'll be doing that too. All right, last game. This one's at 6:40. The Bills at the Chiefs. This line opened up -3, and it's still -3, although there's a -2.5 out there. So this line's creeping downward. Looks like the sharps are on the Bills. Which makes me wonder if someone knows something about Mahomes, maybe a friend of the neurologist or something. So who do you like in this game?
Yeah, so I like the Bills, and I have already bet 2 units on them at this number at +3 this morning. The reason I did that is because this line's going to change massively in the event that Patrick Mahomes is out. And even if he does play, I do not mind the Bills at that price. I think that they have a decent chance of winning this game. I know they lost by 9 points to them earlier in the year. The Bills lost to the Chiefs, that is. And Matt Milano was out of that game, though. And the Chiefs ran like crazy all over the Bills. I don't see that happening again because Clyde Edwards-Helaire isn't going to be fully healthy for this game if he plays at all. And I know Darrell Williams has looked good, but I think the Bills will be better off in run defense there. And then even if Patrick Mahomes plays, he has not looked good in recent weeks. I should qualify that. Not looking as good as Patrick Mahomes usually looks in recent weeks. Against the Browns, he struggled a bit more throwing than usual. He was under a little bit of heat from Myles Garrett on that right side of the line. And he was dealing with a little bit of an apparent foot injury that he was limping on a little bit before he left with the concussion. So I just think this is going to be a quick turnaround for Mahomes no matter what. Even if he comes back from the concussion, like how much practice time is he going to be able to have? How much of the game plan install is he going to be able to like absorb? And, that can get tricky after you have a concussion. Like, you have to absorb a lot of information to be able to attack a defense. So I think that might play a role in it as well. And then I think the Bills defense is going to be able to get pressure on Mahomes like the Browns did with Myles Garrett. Jerry Hughes is a very good pass rusher, and they have a lot of other talent on the defensive line. They have really good linebackers with Milano healthy and Tremaine Edmonds there. And their secondary matches up pretty well with Tyreek Hill and the other receivers for that team. The ways to beat the Bills are on the ground and via the tight end position. So Travis Kelce is the great equalizer here. He's probably going to have a massive game. And you should absolutely have him in all DraftKings lineups because the Bills are not good against tight ends. But I'm not convinced that Patrick Mahomes is going to be able to get out from being pressured consistently and complete a ton of passes if he's forced to throw quickly on this secondary. So for that reason, I'm on the Bills at +3. I could totally see the Chiefs winning this one. But I think it's going to be close. And with the line moving in the opposite direction and Mahomes still being questionable for this one, I just thought that locking in was the smart move because if Mahomes doesn't play, this line could swing 6 points and the Bills be favored at -2 or -3. And then, then I'd be getting a massive view. So that's why I did that. If Mahomes does play, then I'm still comfortable with this because I think the Bills could win this.
Yeah, you're going to have a big edge if you know what's going to happen with Mahomes. Because if Mahomes plays, I think this line moves up, maybe the -4, -4.5. I remember us kind of predicting that line in that area last week, and to see it -3, it's kind of like Like the sports books don't really know what to do with this. I feel like they just put the line out there. If this were the regular season, there's no way this line would be posted at all right now. It's just because it's the conference championship. There's the spreads available. So if you have any idea, or if you can get news at the second, like at the very second, you bet it then before the sports books take the line off the board, or maybe change it. I think that could give you a big edge as well. Because like I said, if Mahomes is in, I think this line moves up. If Mahomes is out, I think the Bills are favored by 3. So, or maybe even more. So, if you get +3, with Chad Henne playing for the Chiefs, like that's an automatic win. Like I feel like, it really depends what happens. So like for me, if Chad Henne's playing, and I something I like to do is bet good teams or great teams playing with their backup quarterbacks, but that's in the regular season. Like I don't want to back Chad Henne in a playoff game against an elite team like Buffalo. If this were a regular season game and we're getting a great number with the Chiefs, like if the Bills were at Kansas City and we already knew that Chad Henne was going to play, like the Bills would be like -5 or -6, and then I would have interest in Kansas City because they'd play well with Chad Henne for a game. But here, like the Bills are not going to be, unfocused. Like they're going to be going all out to beat Kansas City, especially after they saw Chad Henne like with that scramble at the end to beat the Browns. So I like if Henne's playing, I like the Bills. But if the Chiefs play and this line stays at 3, I'm going. If Mahomes is playing and I like and this line stays at 3, I like the Chiefs because I feel like we're getting a good discount on what this line should be. Like I said, -4.5 or something like that. I think we're getting great value with Kansas City because if Mahomes never got hurt, this line, that's what the line would be like. It would be -4.5 or -5. But given that there's an injury with Mahomes, otherwise, like you mentioned with the foot, and we don't know Mitchell Schwartz's status yet. Like that's another big factor that we haven't taken into account yet. Like we thought he might play last week and he didn't, but there's a chance he could return this week. If he doesn't return and Mahomes is, we still don't know about his toe. I could see the case for still taking the Bills if this line moves up. If this line goes to like +4, I'll definitely like the Bills, but at -3, I'm going to take the Chiefs.
Yeah, and my whole thing is this is just a value proposition to me. Like, like you said, I think the line would move 1 or 2 points in favor of the Chiefs if Mahomes does end up playing. But if he doesn't, it's a 6-point swing. So I was just like, I have to bet this now because otherwise I'm going to regret it. And then, if Mahomes does play, then I can have this, and then I can hedge my own previous bet by betting the Chiefs money line and hope to middle it. So I like to do that when there are questions about a quarterback. I did it on Thanksgiving a while back when I think David Blau ended up starting in place of I can't remember if it was Jeff Driscoll or Matthew Stafford, but it was like, oh yeah, Matthew Stafford's going to start. And then we did our show and I was like, I don't think he's actually going to play. So I'm going to bet the Lions right now on the show. And then the next day, the Lions declared him out. It was going to be David Blau. And then, the line shot up 3 points. And then I think both you and I bet the Bears as well. And we middled that bet. So it's usually, in my experience, it's never a bad thing to bet on a questionable quarterback if the line is favorable enough. I think if this falls below +3, I probably wouldn't want to take the Bills at that unless you're really confident Mahomes wouldn't play. But at +3, I was like, I got to take a chance on this and just see what happens.
I think that's pretty smart. I might do that to bet the Bills now, and then if Mahomes plays, you bet the Chiefs money line to middle, like you said. I think that's the move that you should make in this game. Now that I think about it, but even still, like I still would like the Chiefs at -3. Like I said, if Mahomes plays and the line stays that way, but I don't think it will. If Mahomes is announced as playing, I think this line moves up. And in that case, I would like the Bills at like +4 or +4.5. But yeah, I think you had the right strategy. I think I'm glad we talked through it because I think everyone should do that because you can get the middle. The Chiefs could win by 1 or 2 points. That does happen from time to time. And even if the Chiefs win by 3, you push on the Bills +3 and you win the Chiefs money line. So you still win at Chiefs winning by 3.
Yeah, and that way you just secure, like, you're either going to get an amazing value play or you're going to have an opportunity to middle. And then even if you don't middle, you can still make money if you bet enough on the Chiefs money line. So, you're talking about marginal gains in that case, which I know isn't always appealing. You want one side, but I think this is a rare opportunity to do that in the playoffs is a good opportunity.
Yeah, Zail says, from what I heard, Mahomes is so far past his concussion protocol test as of Monday. Isn't clear if he's going to play. Yeah, if that's true, then I guess that's a little more optimistic for the Chiefs. But we don't know. Like he needs to pass. I joked on the site that like someone in the Chiefs organization would like slip the neurologist some money and like so they'd be able to clear Mahomes. But we don't know. I mean, we really don't know right now. But I like I said, I like your strategy for that. So anyway, we're gonna look at the possible spreads for the Super Bowl. So there are 4 possibilities here. And let's go with Tampa winning first. So Bills at Tampa Bay. This will be at Tampa Bay because obviously that's where the game will take place. And the Buccaneers will be the first team to host the Super Bowl at their site. So what would you make this spread?
Yeah, I would probably lean towards – I would probably have it at Tampa Bay -3 over the Bills. I just think that little bit of home field advantage would be big for the Buccaneers. But I also think that the Bills will be able to keep this close and do well on offense and compete with that defense. So I think -3 would be the way I would put it because I think this isn't a technical neutral site game. I think the Bucs are probably a point, maybe a 1.5 better than the Bills. So I would go with -3 off the bat. But as I always caution, I'm usually wrong about these. So I'm curious to hear what you think.
It's kind of you think the Buccaneers are better than the Bills. I actually have the Bills as a half a point better than the Buccaneers. So I don't know. Maybe you're right. I think the public would consider the Buccaneers as the better team. Like obviously, it really depends on what happens in these games. Like the Buccaneers dominate the Packers for some reason. Like obviously, they're going to be favored by probably more than 3. But if they squeak by and the Bills look great against the Chiefs, then I don't think they'll be favored in Tampa, but I think it'll be closer to pick them. Right now, I would make the line Tampa -2 because I've been giving 2 points to the home team, and if you're going to consider these teams close, then I think that Tampa would just get the -2 for being at home. So that's where I would go with this.
That makes sense to me. I think a part of me is biased from years of watching Tom Brady just destroy the Bills. I'm like, of course Tom Brady's going to beat the Bills, but that is all out the window now. The Bills are one of the best teams in the NFL, and they have some of the best fans in the NFL too. So I would like to see this matchup because it would be their ultimate revenge chance for against Tom Brady.
It really would. I mean, that's the perfect way to cap off the Bills Super Bowl run, right? Like just to vanquish Tom Brady. Like they already dispatched the Patriots. Now they get to like Tom Brady is like the final boss for them. It's it'd be cool to see. Even though we both have props on the Buccaneers to win the Super Bowl, I don't have 56-1 like you do, but I would like to cash my 13-1 ticket.
Yeah.
All right. The other Tampa matchup, Kansas City at Tampa Bay. We saw this matchup earlier in the season. And I will tell you right now that the line in that game, I believe, was Buccaneers +3. No, it was +3.5. So would you change that line?
I would probably change that line a little bit since this game. Wait, was that other game in Tampa Bay though? Right?
Yeah, it was in Tampa. Yeah,
right. Because I fell victim to this because I went with the Chiefs at -3.5, and they covered by half a point.
It's the Bucs recovery. Yeah,
I was very upset by that at the time. I would probably change it a bit. I don't think that they would have it over 3 in this circumstance. I think Kansas City would still be favored, but I think you'd be giving more credit to Tom Brady, and I think the books might in this case want the public to bet Tom Brady and the Bucs though. So I could see them keeping it the same. I think I might go with Kansas City -3, -2.5. One of those two would probably be where I would put it at, because then you might bait people into taking Kansas City as a road favorite, which is rare for the Super Bowl. There's usually never a road favorite, but this is a rare circumstance where Tampa might be playing the Super Bowl at home. So I think -3 or -2.5 would be where I'd go on this one with the Chiefs.
Yeah, I lowered this as well. If you recall, the game before this one, before the first matchup, was the Monday night game in which Tampa lost to the Rams. So I think there was a negative sentiment on the Buccaneers back then. And obviously, if they beat the Packers, there's not going to be a negative sentiment. So unless the Chiefs absolutely destroy the Bills 49-14 or something like that, I think this line would drop to probably +3, but I think you could see the +2.5 like you were talking about.
Yeah, I just think that it would depend on what the books want. If the books want bets on the Chiefs, they would go -2.5 because then you're getting the 3. But if they want bets on the Bucks, they'd have it at the +3 opportunity. So that'll tell us a lot about what the books think if this ends up being the matchup.
Yeah, it'd probably be -2.5, -120 or something like that, Yeah. All right, the Green Bay games, Buffalo versus Green Bay at a neutral site. So what would you make this line?
Yeah, I think I would prefer the Packers slightly in this one. I think I might go Packers -1.5 on this one. The logic being this would be the Bills' first trip to the Super Bowl in a long time and Josh Allen's first action there. Rodgers has a ton of playoff experience, has a Super Bowl ring under his belt. And I think these teams are kind of similar. I think the Bills have more offensive weapons and they probably have the better defensive personnel. But I think that Aaron Rodgers is the great equalizer. He can go toe-to-toe with any quarterback in the league. I mean, he's going to be the MVP. So I would make them slightly favored. So probably 1 or 1.5 would be my guess in this one.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's what the line's going to be. I have these teams rated evenly. I in my power rankings, I couldn't decide whether to have Green Bay or Buffalo higher. I kept flip-flopping these past few weeks. And I think maybe I'd have Buffalo a little bit higher because the Bakhtiari injury. Back when Bakhtiari was healthy, this would definitely be Green Bay. So this line wouldn't be pick'em. I don't think they're going to make a pick'em Super Bowl line, but I think you're going to have more public action on Aaron Rodgers than Josh Allen. It's Allen's second trip in the playoffs versus Aaron Rodgers, who's been a mainstay at the NFL for more than a decade now. So I think people would want to bet Rodgers. So I think you see a -1, -1.5, maybe -2, something in that range.
Yeah, you might even see what we had for Patriots Rams a couple of years ago when there was kind of a false +1 for the Packers, or the Patriots were a false +1 early in that, and then the line shifted 2 whole points, and then eventually went up to New England -2 in that game. I think you could see something similar here, where if the books are we think Buffalo's the better team, we're going to make them favored, then they'll get heavy action on the Packers to push it back. So I think anything in the -1 to -2 range for Green Bay, and this one would make sense for the reasons you've outlined.
Yeah, I think that could definitely be the case. So the last possibility, Kansas City versus Green Bay, I wrote a +? Because I assume Kansas City is going to be favored. Do you agree?
Yeah, I would agree in that circumstance because this would just be a battle of the 2 best quarterbacks in the NFL this past season and a rematch of Super Bowl I. This would be an incredible game. I think all of these matchups have amazing story angles in this one, but this one could be really like the old guard quarterback fighting the new age Patrick Mahomes. So this one would be a lot of fun, but I would think that the Chiefs would probably be favored by, I would say 2 in this circumstance, maybe 1.5. I just think that if you look at the David Bakhtiari injury and Patrick Mahomes getting another couple of weeks removed from the foot injury and the concussion, if they're able to beat the Bills, I think that people are going to look at this and say, Andy Reid's a really proven head coach. Patrick Mahomes isn't the MVP this year, but he's the best quarterback in football still. And how are the Packers going to match up with all those offensive weapons with extra time to heal? So I would probably go, I would lock in at -2 for this one in favor of Kansas City, I think.
Yeah, I initially was going to say -1.5 because I have the Chiefs as a 1.5 better than the Packers. But then I thought about it, and then having an extra week off to get Mitchell Schwartz potentially back, we talk about him maybe playing this game, maybe playing last week, and he didn't. But with an extra week off, I think there's a better chance he returns. So I think the books might upgrade the Chiefs by 0.5 point, and then it might go to -2. So I think you're correct in saying it'll probably be -2 or so.
Yeah, I think that's the way they'd want it. I think there's going to be few combinations that would get any of these lines over -3. The books hate to have lines over -3, I feel like, in the Super Bowl, because usually the games are fairly evenly matched. and they'll have it posted for a couple of weeks and, may move a little bit, but I never feel like there's going to be a massive advantage for one side in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I think the only difference, the only case that you'll have that is if one of the quarterbacks gets injured. If somehow Chad Henne pulls off the upset and Mahomes still can't play for some reason, I don't think that'll be the case. But if that happens, then yeah, I think you'll see a line greater than 3. But otherwise, I agree with you. So we have a question here. When was the last time a team won the Super Bowl that didn't have their quarterback on a rookie quarterback or on a rookie contract or Brady taking a pay cut? So I'm looking back, and I believe that was Cam Newton. It was Peyton Manning in 2015 over Cam Newton. I think that was the last time. Or no, Nick Foles. Nick Foles over Tom Brady, because Nick Foles is not on a rookie contract.
Yeah, I think if you view Carson Wentz and Nick Foles as one entity and say like Foles is backup salary and Wentz is a rookie contract, then I think Peyton Manning's probably the answer you're looking for. I know the old adage is, or the rather new adage is like, oh, these rookie contracts make it easier for teams to win the Super Bowl. They definitely do. But like, there are a lot of people who try to use that to discount, like, oh, you shouldn't sign these franchise quarterbacks to huge deals. But I think Aaron Rodgers is a perfect example of what a quarterback can do for you. So if he wins that and makes it to the Super Bowl and is able to win there, then I think you're going to start to see like all right, yeah, maybe we don't give massive quarterbacks contracts to every good quarterback, but like the truly elite ones, like we need to pay because they just are such game changers between him and Mahomes and Brady and guys like that can really make a difference for their teams.
Oh yeah, I mean it's definitely a case by case basis. Like if you have an elite quarterback, you obviously have to pay him. Even if he's great, like you would pay him. If he's mediocre, like Kirk Cousins, then you don't pay him. And I think that's where Washington did a great job of not overpaying him. Now, granted, they kind of went downhill because Alex Smith got hurt, but they were 6-2 that one year with Alex Smith, and then he got injured. So I think they would have won that division that year. Big D Nick, he was. But I think you make the case, a good case, where the Eagles don't really count there because they had Carson Wentz on the rookie deal. So if you discount that, then Peyton Manning over Cam Newton in 2015, and then before that, Joe Flacco over Colin Kaepernick in 2012. So that those 2 times be the last time a team won without a rookie quarterback contract or Tom Brady. So kind of crazy, isn't it?
It really is the way that has worked out. And again, that speaks to the excellence of Brady and how important it can be to draft the right rookie quarterback. Like we see all the time teams take the wrong rookie quarterback and it's like, oh, they got a quarterback on a rookie deal. They're going to go to the Super Bowl. And it's like, no, they actually took Dwayne Haskins or they took Josh Rosen. It's like, oh, that didn't work out. So, if you don't have an elite quarterback, you got to take the right one in the draft, or your team isn't going to get built well around it, even if it's just a solid player. That's why I think this upcoming draft class is going to be really interesting because we got like at least 4 or 5 potential first round picks, maybe as many as 6 that could end up being early picks because of the value placed on rookie quarterbacks and 5th-year options. So, if your team needs a quarterback, this is an exciting offseason to need one.
Yeah, it's we'll probably see 3 quarterbacks in the top 4 picks, so it'll definitely be fun. And what's cool now is that even if you draft the wrong quarterback like Josh Rosen, you can recover pretty easily, just based on the rookie deals. Now, before this new CBA, it was just a nightmare. Like if you drafted the wrong quarterback, your team was done for like 3 or 4 years because you couldn't get rid of that deal, and that player commanded so much of the salary cap. But it's a good thing that they made the change. So we have just a few questions to get through, and then we'll sign off. GJL Reed asks, Breeze to be a coach at some point. What do you think about Drew Brees' future?
I think Breeze would be a pretty good coach. I don't know if he'd ever be like a head coach anywhere. I could see him being like the kind of guy who goes off and coaches high school football and does like a really good job there. I could also see him being like a motivational speaker or a consultant for like the Saints and Sean Payton. I think he's a really like good and well-respected guy. So I could easily see him like fitting into a role in the Saints like front office and like player personnel where he'd like talks to players and stuff and creates a relationship between them and the front office. So I think he definitely has a career in football of some sort. I'm interested to see where he goes. I could see him as a coach. I could see him as an executive. I hope he lands somewhere where he can do a good job, though, because I do genuinely think he's a good guy.
Yeah, he definitely is a great guy. Super smart. I feel like he can do anything and do it well. My prediction is that here's what I'm calling. I think he'll replace Troy Aikman as Fox's lead color analyst with Joe Buck. And I think Fox is going to try to copy what CBS did with Tony Romo, just like get a super smart quarterback who maybe Drew Brees calls out all the plays like Tony Romo did in his first broadcasting game. I think that could definitely happen.
I would love to see that. I think that'd be a welcome change from the Buck Aikman duo that's been in business a long time, because I think that they're kind of lagging behind Nance and Romo right now in terms of top broadcast teams. So I think splitting those two up and adding Brees would be really cool. And I think Brees would do a great job of that. They could put him on Saints games and he could just reveal all the secrets of the Taysom Hill, Jameis Winston quarterback room or whatever that ends up being. So I would very much look forward to that.
Yeah, at the very least, I'd like to hear that. How crazy was it to go from Nance and Romo, and then the next game is Buck and Aikman? I don't think they're bad announcers, but they're not on the level of Nance and Romo. I feel like they're just so much better.
Yeah, that's what it boils down to. And I also prefer Al Michaels and Chris Collinsworth to them. I know not everyone likes Chris Collinsworth as much as I do. There's just something really soothing about his voice to me. So just him and Michaels, I think, do a good job. And, Nance and Romo to Buck Aikman, I think you're right. It's just oh man, there's something missing. There's just one element missing there.
Yeah, I like Collinsworth's voice. I like this voice too. And then I heard his son's voice, and it sounded exactly the same. I was like, oh man, this is a little creepy, isn't it? All right, next question. Do you guys like the Browns to win the Super Bowl next year? What do you think about the Browns' chances?
I think that they could stand a chance. I don't know if I would pick them over some of the other teams that would progress. I haven't done a full deep dive of I think these teams are going to improve. I also think the Browns play in a really tough division, or one that's going to be really tough, because if Joe Burrow comes back healthy, hypothetically, all of those teams could compete for playoff spots. So I don't know if I'd be in on the Browns just yet. I do think that their future is bright. If they were playing in an easier division, I think I would like them more, but I'm not sure I'm ready to back that train just yet.
Yeah, it's tough to call it right now because so many things could happen, and plus they have to get by the Chiefs, and plus the Bills are going to be there. The Bills don't have that many free agents, so this is kind of going through free agents. You find the free agent rankings on the website. Outside of Matt Milano and Darrell Williams, they don't really have anyone who's too significant. So they can re-sign both those guys, and they'll be right back where they were this year with more experience. So I think I would go Chiefs and Bills as the two favorites, and then maybe the Browns. I mean, the Browns are going to be a good team, I think, but I don't think they're going to be as good as the top two teams in the AFC.
Yeah, they have some holes to patch on defense for sure. So I would like to see what they do in the draft and free agency first before I back them. But it remains possible at least.
Yeah. All right. That's it for the questions, and that is it for this week. So we'll be back next week. We won't be talking about our prediction for the game yet because there's a week layoff. But I'm sure we'll find something to discuss. So do you have anything to plug?
Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter at Jacob Camenker. We're tweeting all my NFL offseason content that's coming out over at Rigo's Rag for the Washington football team. I'll be breaking down all of the potential quarterbacks that could hypothetically be mentioned in trade rumors this offseason. So be on the lookout for that and why they might be traded. And other than that, just follow me and feel free to talk football with me on Twitter. I'm always down to talk there.
Sounds good. I'm at waltzerfootball.com. Like I said, we have our free agent rankings up on the site. We're going to have team needs soon. I'm finishing up on those. 2021 NFL mock draft will be updated Wednesday morning, and plus all the pick updates. So yeah, that is it for this episode of the waltzerfootball.com podcast. Like I said before, please hit the like button or the subscribe button or share this video with someone who likes football. So that would help us out a lot. But yeah, otherwise, I will talk to you next week.
All right. Sounds good. Talk to you then.
All right. Bye.